Hi and welcome to Terry Talks Movies. As you can tell from the hat, I've got a new release haul from Umbrella Entertainment. These are the December 2024 releases from Umbrella. And they're pretty damn good. Lots of deep cuts, lots of strange things, and one very cute one. Most of the ones I've got here are the collector's editions, but there are also standard editions as well. And before we get started, I'll do this before I forget. If you order from the Umbrella website, there's a code to get 15% off your next order. So don't say I never give you anything. I have 7 things for you here, and they're all pretty damn good as far as I can see. Some of them, I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen yet, but I'm looking forward to watching them. And I think I might slip 1 or 2 of them into the 24-hour movie marathon I'm doing in the near future. There's a couple there that I think would fit into that. But anyway, I'll go with the first one. A film by Francis Galuppi, The Last Stop in Yuma County. Now, this is a neo-Western noirish thing where a knife salesman is in a roadhouse in the desert in Arizona. I think it's Arizona. And there's no gas. He's got to wait for the gas truck. So he goes to the diner, waits for the gas truck, and ends up being involved in a very dangerous hostage situation with some very, very bad people. I like this kind of movie, the ones where the landscape and the environment are as much a part of the characters as the characters themselves. And is it just me, or is there a very 1970s feel about that cover art there? Rock solid. By the way, all of these are Region B, so just be aware of that. They are marked as Region B. Whether they'll play in other regions, I don't know, but they are marked as Region B. So inside we get alternative artwork there, which is very good. I like that kind of teal background there. It makes it work. We get that as well. Inside, we get the reversible artwork to get rid of the censorship classification, which increasingly a lot of companies are doing. I know there are some English ones that are doing it as well on the front of the disc box. So we get posters, double-sided posters. This one's kind of cool. Just a booze in the diner kind of poster. Very groovy. And there is the alternative. I wish I had room to put up all these posters I keep getting, particularly from Umbrella. There'd be a really nice thing to have an enormous wall that's not covered in bookshelves and Blu-rays and DVD shelves, where I could just put a wall of very, very cool looking movie posters. Unfortunately, I don't have the wherewithal to do that unless I find a way of weatherproofing frames and putting them on the outside of the house, but then they'd fade with the sunlight. It'd be a thing. But there is the inside box. We get art cards as well because, Julian over at Collector Creations has a very mixed idea about whether art cards are a good thing, but I kind of like them. I'm a lobby card kind of guy. I used to look at the lobby cards in the window of my local cinema to see what was upcoming, so I've bonded like a baby bird to lobby cards, and art cards are the new lobby cards. There's that one. 5 loaded guns, 4 empty tanks, 1 bag of money. The fuel truck is running late, it says on that one. Last Stop in Yuma County. I like this. This is a really great art card. And Julian, check this one out because it again says what you say about art cards. Woman with a pie and a knife. I love that one. There's that one. And there's a crossword. There's a page out of a newspaper there. And again, you've got that 1970s feel to this one, which feels like a 1970s lobby card. There's the menu for the diner, and to be honest with you, the prices look pretty damn good. And there's another version of that poster art. And as well, we get a booklet, because of course we do. There's a bird sitting on the broken coffee cup. Inside, we've got a whole bunch of stuff. Production design by Charlie Textor, the production designer. Very underrated production designers, I think. When people are doing extras, production designers don't sometimes get enough love in these kind of things, so it's good to see that. There's a lot of production design stuff about the diner itself. There's some behind the scenes stuff, lots of pictures in this one. It's not all text, and that's kind of cool. When I see good production design in a movie, I just love it. And I've got this increasing realization as I watch movies that somebody decided to put all those things in the background where they are. They just didn't happen organically the way they do in a house. They were choices There's also some stuff from Alabama Blonde, the costume designer, which is kind of cool. So yeah, a good addition, this one. The extras on The Last Stop to Yuma County. Audio commentary with director Francis Galuppi and executive producer James Clays. Audio commentary with director Francis Galuppi and actors Jim Cummings and Jocelyn Donahue. Audio commentary with Francis Galuppi and cinematographer. Sell Your House documentary sizzle reel. Behind the scenes photo gallery. Screen Dreams interview with the director Francis Galuppi and a trailer. By the way, I've got Luna crawling around my feet here, trying to get some love. So if the little menace jumps up, you'll know why. So we're off to a good start there. I decided I'm going to put that into the random selection generator for the 24-hour movie marathon I'm doing. And this one may get some more love on the channel. Who knows? Jumping up here, are you? I'll get her in frame. There she is. The little menace is here. She'll jump down in a minute and be away. But she's here right now, aren't you? Doing okay? While we're on the subject of diners, this one's actually a true crime documentary drama. It's a dramatization of a true crime thing, which happened in a fast food place in America called Burger Chef, and they're known as the Burger Chef Murders. They happened in 1978. And filmmakers Luke Rinderman and Adam Camion made a dramatized documentary about them. They still don't know for sure who did these murders. Middle-aged geek girls watch this movie, and she says it's good. It's a thing called the Speedway Murders. Now, this one's a limited edition of 500, as indeed was Last Stop to Yuma County, limited edition of 500 in the collector's edition. In this Burger Chef restaurant, somebody comes to take over their shift and finds that everybody who works there is gone and the back door's open. And they eventually find the bodies, but they don't quite know who did the murders. And there's characterizations for the murder victims as well. It says here, in the film, the employees are played by talented young cast, Essie Reynolds, Nia Coffey, David McKenzie and Joe Cumpston, all caught in a time loop in the 2 hours leading up to the crime. As we get to know them, we learn about the town and the predominant theories of what actually happened. Interesting that was made into a movie, and the format is a little bit different from the usual true crime documentaries. By dramatizing it and by having actors play the victims, they can talk directly to camera and explain things from what we assume is the viewpoint of the victims. Inside the slipcover, we've got the alternative artwork there, which is very kind of true crime documentary looking. Inside, we have the disc and the flipping artwork to get rid of the Australian censorship classification. And we do get a booklet. Inside the booklet, we've got about the production, a synopsis. There's the about production. Quotes from the directors and some more production photos. People still say photos. Quotes from the cast and lots of information there. So this one's again an outlier, and of course we get the J card there. This is a bit unusual. That format is really unusual, and I think it's good to see filmmakers thinking outside the box when they're doing adaptations of true crime documentaries, to make it a little more grounded, a little more realistic, and also to humanize the victims of crime. Normally with true crime documentaries, there can be a bit of a focus on the perps. Now, we don't know who the perps are in this, but we do know who the victims were. And humanizing the victims, I think, is an interesting take on it. And it may make it more impactful to have that rather than, in some cases, as true crime doggos often do, featuring center stage the people who did the crime. So there's that, and that one apparently is already on streaming services. Speedway Murders special features audio commentary with director Adam Camion and Luke Rinderman, interviews with the cast, behind the scenes reel, and a trailer. Next up, I'll go with a psychological horror film that I watched this morning and that I recommend. My friend Nadine Whitney, who has already reviewed this movie, was talking to me on Facebook about this. And she said it's very, very good. You've got to watch this. And so I did. And then I sent her a thumbs up because her recommendation was on point. And in fact, on the back of the cover of Birdeater, it says, "A visceral and feral experience that is outstanding." That's a direct quote from Nadine's review of the movie. A lot of people have said this one is almost a modern updating of the themes of Wake in Fright, the Ted Kotchak movie from 1970. And to be honest with you, it is. There is a scene at the start of the movie where out of focus in the background is a movie poster of Wake in Fright. So the filmmakers have deliberately used that as one of their influences. It was directed and written by Jack Clark and Jim Weir, and they had a real difficult production of this movie. They're set out in the bush near the Hawkesbury River. It was on a floodplain that got washed out during production. They had so much trouble getting the money together. $10,000 here, $15,000 there from various people supporting the project. And they eventually had an angel investor come in so they could actually finish the movie in 2023. Now, this one is really a hardcore film. It's not for everybody. Some people are not going to be able to watch this. I'll read you the blurb from the back. A bachelor party in the Australian bush turns feral. Louis Mackenzie Fernley has gathered his close friends along with his hesitant fiancée, Irene, played by Shabana Aziz, at a remote property for a night of pre-wedding celebrations. It was going to be his bucks night, but he decided to bring his girlfriend there, and another one of his friends brings a girlfriend so it doesn't make it difficult. Initially, the groom-to-be manages to resist the boys' club takeover in favour of a more inclusive atmosphere, but when incriminating details about his relationship are exposed, the festivities take a feral turn. And indeed they do. The acting in this is fantastic. Production design, cinematography, the sound design as well. Fantastic stuff. This is a difficult film. And some people have complained that the ending has a certain level of uncertainty about it. I've thought about it since I've watched it today. I've kind of been going, is it an uncertain ending? Or is the fact that the ending is up in the air somewhat a good thing? And people can bring their own interpretation to what happens next. I know what I wanted to happen. I wanted every male character in the movie to burn in a bushfire. But that doesn't happen as part of the film. Inside we've got the iteration of that artwork again. And more information there. This one is a limited edition of 500 again. Inside we've got the flip cover, of course, and there is the disc. I have a booklet. I like that graphic there. That's very telling. Inside we've got director's statement, a whole bunch of stuff about the production, casting Birdeater, and to be honest with you, the casting is really good. There isn't a bad piece of acting in this, and the characters do have that feeling that particularly the male characters have known each other for a very long time and have ghosts and have histories together. There is an interesting little piece about filming intimacy and about the way you have to do that in this kind of a movie. So it's good that that's being featured as well. Visual style, production statement, editor's statement, and then again, the people behind the scenes are being given a little agency and credit here. And the composer statement by Andreas Dominguez. So there's that there. This one's a recommend from me if you're not triggered by intergender violence, let's say. Now, I'm handling this carefully for the simple reason. The last video when I was talking about movies that feature non-binary and trans characters, I ended up in a comment war with somebody who had a differing view on trans people than I do and said that I was attacking men by featuring the movies that I featured. Too bad. If you have that opinion and if you want to express it to me, you better be respectful when you do it, because I've banned that person from the channel, even though they're a long-term commenter. They got very personal. They got very nasty. They have things that I can't help them with. In saying that, I recommend Birdeater highly. It's only for certain people. And if you are a kind of person who can handle that kind of intergender violence and intergender psychological abuse, then you're going to really get a lot from this movie. If you're not that kind of person, there are lots of other films. There'll be more I can recommend here. So just have that awareness when you watch Birdeater. Which, by the way, is on Netflix in Australia here at the moment, I hear. But it won't be forever, so I'm very glad I've got a physical copy of that, because I think it is quite an interesting... It's the first feature by the directors as well. So these guys really punched hard for a first feature. They didn't go with some kind of soft rom-com kind of approach. They went straight to the guts of toxic masculinity in Australia and updating the historic toxic masculinity that we saw in movies like Wake in Fright. Interesting film. On the back, there is a coin, and the coin features very prominently in one of the mind games that occurs during the Bucks Night turned celebratory weekend. This movie is a gut punch, but it's a very adept gut punch. For Birdeater, the special features are audio commentary with directors Jack Clark and Jim Weir, Lead actor Mackenzie Fernley and editor Ben Anderson. Chemistry test to final scene, Louis and Irene in a forest. Chemistry test to final scene, ketamine denial. Scene outtakes, Princess Anne, extended take, more shots, and a trailer. Let's change the tone a bit and go with something that we've all seen on a shelf in a video store, probably on VHS, but has now got a new release. And I've got to put my finger over that because there's a naughty word there, spoken by Viggo Mortensen. Boiling Point, starring Wesley Snipes, Viggo Mortensen, and it also has Dennis Hopper in it. There's the card on the back, and the funny thing is, if you remove the card, you got Dennis Hopper saying the same thing. There's a lot of feeble swearing in this one, which is I'm there for. There's your slipcover. Wesley Snipes with a gun. Dennis Hopper with money. He's a cop who's reached boiling point, which is about every second movie from the 1990s, let's be honest. There's the more familiar artwork. This one, again, in the collector's edition, is a limited edition of 500. Inside, we get the reversible artwork. And we get the poster. So if you want to reenact a 1990s video store, whack that one up on the wall. Oh, that one. But there's more. We have art cards. There's Wesley Snipes and Lola Davidovich. Wesley Snipes and Dennis Hopper's Crazy Toupee. Wesley Snipes and Seymour Cassell. I love the fact that I can identify these actors just by looking at them. Wesley Snipes and Dan Hedaya. So the cast in this is Chef's Kiss. Dennis Hopper and Lola Davidovich. Dennis Hopper again. Wesley Snipes wearing a tie. And we get a booklet, inside of which is Pulp Fiction's The Films of James B. Harris, an essay by Sean Hogan, a synopsis and a script of a movie with Snipes and Hopper, which could be this one, I don't know. There's a lot of details in here, and a whole bunch of the production photography. So there it is, back in the slipcover again. Cool 1990s gunplay and bang bang and lots of witty dialogue, so a bit of fun there. And looks better that way because I don't have to hold my finger over anything. Boiling Point special features. Audio commentary with writer L. Scott Jose and writer and historian Andrew Nett. Love in the Dark, the romantic noir of Boiling Point. Audio essay by Sean Hogan. A story of Boiling Point archival featurette. James B. Harris trailer reel. Photo gallery, original VHS trailer and a theatrical trailer. Next up, we've got the original Spanish version of a movie that was adapted to a movie with Tom Cruise called Vanilla Sky. It is Open Your Eyes, also known as Abre los Ojos, which is the original Spanish, badly mangled. This one's a 1,000 copy edition, and it's a chunky one again. It's a collector's edition. And inside the slipcase, and there is the card on the back. Is there anything under the card? There is, and there's a bit of glow to that and a bit of gloss to both that side. And he said trying to make it work, that side. Inside we've got the slipcover with some quite wonderful artwork there. Alternative artwork there and there. Reversible artwork, of course. A poster. And another poster. Basically, for those of you who haven't seen Vanilla Sky, and I don't recommend you do, it's not that great. The story is a guy called Cesar, played by Eduardo Noriega. He's a handsome playboy who has it all until he falls hard for a beautiful woman called Sophia, played by Penelope Cruz. And a jealous ex involves him in a car accident that disfigures his face. He goes on for some very unusual treatments and ends up in a world that may not be the real world. So Open Your Eyes is a gripping psychological thriller that delves into the blurred lines between reality and illusion, keeping viewers on the edge of their seats with a mind-bending twist. So there's that. More art cards. There he is with his disfigured face. Penelope Cruz. Mime. Empty Streets, which was emulated in Times Square in the Tom Cruise version of the film. And we also get a booklet, which has in it The Face That Cracked the Mirror, which is not mine in this case. Inside it says, "To face the cracked mirror, Alejandro Amenabar's Open Your Eyes" by Sheila Rowan Legg, an excerpt from her book, The Spanish Fantastic Contemporary Filmmaking in Horror, Fantasy and Sci-Fi. The Making of Open Your Eyes, Abre los Ojos, Behind Brown Eyes, Eduardo Noriega talks Thesis, and Open Your Eyes. Thesis was actually released last month by Umbrella. Dreams Are Like That, Cinematographic Symbolism and Themes of Open Your Eyes by Andy Marshall Roberts. So there's another essay there. And artwork, the creation of the artworks. I like the fact that this original version is being released. Too often we get the American or the English adaptations of much better films that came from non-English language countries. So all credit to Umbrella for giving us the OG version in a quality release. I can't speak of that too highly. It doesn't matter what it is. I will always go to the original release. The only exception to that is the Maltese Falcon, because the Maltese Falcon, we know from 1941, is the third version of that story that was told by Hollywood. But when it comes to non-English language films, going to the original version is always for me much more rewarding than looking at the changed and culturally shifted versions that Hollywood gives us after the original movie has passed and Hollywood wants to cash in on it. Open Your Eyes special features, audio commentary with director Alejandro Amenabar with English subtitles. Dreams Are Like That, Cinematographic Symbolism and Themes in Open Your Eyes, video essay by Andy Marshall Roberts. That Obscure Object of Desire, Dreams and Doubles in Alejandro Amenabar's Open Your Eyes, an audio essay by Anton Batel. RCC Hizel making a featurette. Luna 1995 short film by Alejandro Amenabar. Isolated score, partitura about the music featurette. The next one I watched yesterday, and it's an apocalyptic Japanese film. That, again, I knew bugger all about. It's another one that's been remade as an American version. In this case, it was remade by Wes Craven under the same name, Pulse. But this is the version you want. I've seen reviews of the Wes Craven version, which stars Kristen Bell. And to be fair, it's not good. This one's a limited edition of 2000. It is the 4K and the Blu-ray, which is fantastic. Again, that artwork is very evocative. I'll show you all the stuff, then I'll tell you what the movie's about. We have art cards. You may get a bit of the gist from the art cards, but we'll see. I love those old monitors. Some of the monitors in this movie are CRT and some of them are the newer monitors, flat screens, and there's kind of a transition there. Now, the booklet you get with this is actually a full-on book, and it is great. But I'll show you the box and the discs. Again, you get alternative artwork there. This one surprised me because A, I didn't know anything about it, which is kind of unusual for me. And B, the movie blew me away. Inside, you get the 4K and the Blu-ray. It was digitally restored last year, or maybe 2 years ago, which is great. The movie was directed by Kurosawa Kiyoshi, and he did a fantastic job of this. It's an amazing, kind of forgotten movie in some ways. There's a Japanese poster. There is the one I've just shown you on the front of the box. And this book is a full-on book. I would not call that a booklet. That's a full-on book about Pulse. And it has a lot of good stuff in it. There's a synopsis in there. There's an interview with Kurosawa Kiyoshi, the director. A word with the cast. They talked to Kato Haruhiko, one of the cast members. And a bunch of other cast members is in there as well. And it says here as a quote, "This film is a story about fear of solitude. I don't think the person who can rely on others is necessarily weak." Lots of production notes. But for me, the interesting part in here, I won't go through everything because it is quite a substantial book, including visual effects. The visual effects in here are incredibly subtle, but incredibly well done. There's a scene where one of the protagonists is looking up at a tower on a industrial site and see somebody standing at the top of the tower, and they move to the edge of the tower, fall off and splat down the bottom. And it's all a single take. They did it by some really interesting cutting. They had somebody bungee jumping basically off the tower. Incredible, shocking things happen in this movie, but they're all done as really interesting. Now, there is a Pulse roundtable here with a whole bunch of people who like the movie. Paul Duane, William Bibiani, Richard Kadri, who's one of my favourite writers, is in here. And the three of them are just talking about their love of the film, which is kind of cool. And there is also a thing about the films of Kurosawa Kiyoshi. And the original title of this is Karo, which is Japanese for circuit, adapted to that. But this is a full-on book about the movie. That can sit on a shelf quite easily. So what's the movie about? Basically, it's from 2002, and there are two parallel storylines that eventually meet together. People in Tokyo, and they're seeing things on their computer screens. It's at the birth of the internet. People are just getting online. And they're starting to see creepy images on their CRTs or their flat screens. And one guy puts a disc in to get online. It's one of those discs you used to put online, and they will give you so many hours of internet until you subscribe with a certain company. And he ends up on a website that says, do you want to see a ghost? Okay, the movie pulls out from that. And a number of people see ghosts. And when you see a ghost, and when you're in the presence of a ghost, which is sent to you through the internet, the ghosts are in the machine. Your energy levels drop, you get very depressed, and you either end yourself or else you fade into a shadow on the wall. It happens both ways to people. And the protagonists are basically fighting this slowly growing apocalypse where the spirits of the dead are coming back to Earth and killing the human race. It's an apocalyptic movie that has a slow burn, and increasingly as the movie progresses, there are fewer and fewer people in the streets of Tokyo. It's just got a vibe all its own. There's a scene in the pachinko parlor where one of the characters is being stalked by a ghost, and the characters of the people playing the ghosts are digitally altered so they look glitchy, and they move weirdly, and they jump from one place to another like a stuttering video. It's incredibly creepy and incredibly well done. There's nothing quite like it I've seen in cinema. It sets its premise, and the premise increases. As the movie progresses, you realize it is about loneliness, it is about depression, it is about, and of course this being a Japanese movie, it is about a number of Japanese people who are lonely and depressed and who end their own lives. It's a metaphor for the dangers of isolation. Now, this movie, of course, was made before social media really hit big, and that connection, to a certain extent, can be made by other means. It's a crazy, powerful movie. It may be one of the best movies I've seen this year for the first time. I really can't recommend this one highly enough. Pulse is something special and something extraordinary and something gutsy. It talks to a social problem that Japan experienced, and to a large extent, for a number of people, is still experiencing in 2024/2025, whenever you watch this. Crazy good. It looks great. It's got its own vibe. The music and the lack of music in certain scenes and the lack of any background sounds in certain scenes really works. Incredible movie. Now, this one features an audio commentary with critic and writer Alexandra Heller-Nicholas, Ghost in the Machine, an interview with the director Kurosawa Kiyoshi, Apocalypse of Alienation, Gazing in the Abyss in Kurosawa Kiyoshi's Pulse, an audio essay by Anton Bartel, archival making of featurette, director Kurosawa Kiyoshi, Broken Circuits, interview, a cinematographer interview with Yashi Junshiro, creepy images, another interview, and a trailer. So there's a lot of stuff on here. This is something extraordinary. And it's an apocalyptic movie that blends that genre of ghosts, and particularly Asian ghosts and hungry ghosts in a sense, with an apocalypse. Love this one. Left the cutest one for last. 2024 movie directed by David and Nathan Zellner, written by David Zellner, and it stars Riley Keough, J.C. Eisenberg, Sasquatch Sunset. Now, I'm not going to show you the slipcover. I'm going to show you the insides first. Basically, it's about a family of Sasquatches living in the Pacific Northwest in America. Limited edition of 500 in this collector's edition. I will show you the art cards first. Sasquatches. Sasquatch playing with a skunk. And I have smelt a dead skunk on the side of a road once. I've only ever done it once because we don't have them here. Geez, they smell. Bit of the countryside. Family shot. The makeup is fantastic in this. Again, these locations are fantastic in the redwood forest. We also get a booklet, Sasquatch Sunset. Inside, we've got an introduction by Riley Keough, Michael Pausner, the production designer. There's a picture of Riley Keough posing as a female Sasquatch. Part of the shooting script, production photos, and some of the storyboarding. And then a lot about the makeup for the movie. There's the slipcover. Inside we've got that one, which looks like a surfing movie that cut by the colours. And that. Of course, it has the reversible cover there. And we get a poster. Or you can go landscape. Now, I haven't watched this one yet. Sal and I are going to watch this one together when we get an evening when we're not doing other things. But we're looking forward to watching that one. It says strong nudity and sex scenes. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you got it here. I left the hardcover for last because it's covered in fur. It's like a pimp's bedroom in 1972. It's cute as hell. I love the slipcover on this one. And all credit to Umbrella for doing that. They had an idea and just ran with it. And yeah, it just works. It's got to make it a little fatter on the shelf, of course. That's a me problem, not a you problem. It kind of sits nicely there. And I keep wanting to kind of, not stroke it, but kind of comb the hair so it all goes one way. A lot of fun there. There is, of course, like all of these other ones, a standard edition. But if you got the wherewithal, that's a very cute edition of this movie. The extras, we've got an audio commentary with the directors, Beneath the Fur, Creating the Sasquatch, The Creatures of Nature, Behind the Scenes, Habitat, Scouting Humboldt County, it was filmed in Humboldt County, The Road and the River, Anatomy of a Scene, Sasquatch Birth Journal, number 2, Bonobo Screen Test, Sasquatch Soundtrack, OST by The Octopus Project, Making the Soundtrack with The Octopus Project, Photo, Gallery, and Trailer. Again, this one's a limited edition of 500, but it's just so cute. I love it. It makes me inclined kindly towards the film before I ever see it. Have seen the trailer, and that looks interesting as well. So that's what I got for you this time. Thank you very much to Umbrella Entertainment for sending these ones for me to review. Tons of interesting movies there. They're not mainstream films, but they're important films. They're interesting films. They're different films, and they're gutsy films, all of which is a virtue as far as I'm concerned. And as often happens with the movies that I get from Umbrella, they're movies that take me places I don't naturally go. Looking at Pulse and realizing that it's just such a breakthrough, amazing film, and looking at Birdeater and seeing how it's a new Australian film that has something to say and says it quite well, particularly given that this is the director's first feature film. That kind of stuff is precious to me. Just seeing what's out there and seeing things that I've missed out is wonderful. And I really appreciate the opportunity to do all that. And I've just realized my camera is tilted, but I'm not going to fix it at this late stage. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can support the channel by becoming a channel member or else by becoming a patron at patreon.com/TerryTalksMovies. Next up, we've got Science Fiction Saturday, and there's some groovy stuff there. And I've got more new releases to do next week. And my SD card just filled up. I'm also doing the 24-hour movie marathon later. It's going to be a lot of stuff before the end of the year. And then right at the end of the year, there's going to be my live stream on New Year's Eve from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. So until all of that happens, watch some good movies, watch some bad movies. Watch all sorts of movies and stretch yourself just that little bit. And I'll catch you next time.